Jungle Gold Curse. Chapter 1. Into the Green Abyss. The jungle was breathing, not with lungs, but with the endless pulse of life hidden beneath its emerald skin. Cicadas screamed like tiny sirens. Moist air clung to my neck, thick with decay and the sweet rot of leaves. I adjusted the strap on my backpack, already soaked with sweat. Keep your pace, I told myself, though my heart was pounding like a drum in a funeral march. The trail was barely a trail, just a memory of footsteps swallowed by vines. Somewhere ahead, Mateo's machete hissed through the brush. Each swing echoed like a heartbeat in the humid silence. We were 4 in total. Mateo, the local guide with scars across his hands like tree roots. Dr. Leong, an archaeologist from Singapore whose eyes never stopped. Calculating. Nadia, the only woman in our team. Silent, camera always ready, her hair tied in a practical knot. And me, a treasure hunter pretending to be a documentarian. My name is Daniel Hart, and I came here chasing gold. Not the kind you wear, but the kind that curses the men who find it. Legends whispered of a river vein of pure gold, hidden since the war. The Japanese had tried to extract in 1944, but none of their soldiers returned. Locals call the Dong Mao Quan Nui, the mountain's blood. Every explorer who went after it vanished. Their camps were found empty. Fires still burning. Tools laid neatly beside untouched food, as if something had simply erased them. And yet, here I was, stupid, greedy, hopeful. My compass trembled like it feared the direction we're going. Another hour and we'll hit the stream, Mateo said. He spoke in a voice that sounded like it had already given up on daylight. Dr. Leong checked his map. If the coordinates are right, we're walking directly above the old Japanese tunnels. Nadia filmed him quietly. Tunnels? She asked. You never said anything about tunnels. Because I wasn't sure they existed, Leong replied. Without looking up, I caught a glimpse of something metallic in his vest pocket, a small golden emblem. What's that? I asked. He froze. A relic, he said flatly, found near the border village. It had the shape of a coiled dragon biting its own tail. The metal shimmered even in the dim light. Mateo spat into the mud. Bad sign, he muttered. Dragon eating itself means death follows. Greed. We laughed it off, but the jungle didn't. A sudden gust rustled through the canopy, scattering droplets like tiny mirrors. Somewhere distant, a bird screamed, a shrill, broken sound. The forest went quiet afterward. That's not normal, Nadia whispered. Mateo stopped walking. River's close, he said softly. She can hear us now. She? I asked. He pointed to the trees. The mountain. I wanted to mock his superstition, but something in his tone made my stomach turn. We reached the stream just before dusk. It was narrow, twisting between black stones like a silver serpent. The water shimmered oddly, reflecting not the sky, but the gold hue of the soil below. Leong crouched immediately, filling a vial. Iron content's high, he said, and maybe something else. I dipped my fingers in. The water felt warm, too warm. Beneath the surface, I saw flakes of gold dust swirling in slow spirals. My pulse quickened. It was real. Nadia caught it on camera. Big. Gold, she murmured. Real big. Let's set camp, I said. Tomorrow we dig. We built our tents on a patch of dry soil near the rocks. The jungle buzzed with nocturnal life. Frogs croaked like drums in the dark. Fireflies drifted above us, small lanterns in the endless black. I lay in my tent, unable to sleep. I could hear Mateo murmuring a prayer outside. His voice trembled slightly, as if bargaining with unseen things. I turned on my recorder. Day 1. I whispered. Found the river. Signs of gold confirmed. Team stable. I stopped, but something feels wrong. Static hissed faintly through the speaker. Mateo says the mountain listens. I think he's right. The wind rose suddenly, flapping the tent. A faint metallic scent filled the air. Like blood, I stepped outside with my flashlight. The beam cut through mist like a blade through silk. The trees swayed slowly, their shadows stretching like fingers. The stream glowed faintly in the moonlight. I saw something move beneath the water. A ripple, smooth and deliberate. Mateo. I called. No answer. His tent was open, empty. The campfire had burned down to embers. Mateo? I tried again, louder. Then a sound came from the riverbank. A low hum, like metal grinding against stone. I shined the light. Something gold shimmered beneath the water. I stepped closer. The mud sucked at my boots. Mateo, if you're messing with me. My voice stopped. The light caught something. A human hand, reaching out from the water. It was Mateo's. His eyes stared at nothing. Mouth frozen in a silent scream. His fingers clutched something tightly. A piece of gold. The current pulled him away before I could react. Oh God! Nadia came running, camera still in hand. What happened? Leon followed, his face pale as moonlight. He's gone, I stammered. The river took him. Leon looked at the water. The river doesn't take, he said. Something else does. Nadia aimed her flashlight at the stream. For a second, we saw it, a golden shimmer moving against the current, like a shape made of molten metal crawling beneath the water. Then it vanished. We didn't speak for a long time. The jungle was alive again, but wrong, its rhythm broken. I could feel it breathing around us. We leave at dawn, Nadia said quietly. But Leon didn't answer. He was staring at the vial of golden water. No, he whispered. We're staying. What the hell are you talking about? I snapped. This is proof, he said. Real proof. Gold that moves alive. Mateo's dead. He died because he touched it. We'll study it carefully. Nadia turned off her camera. You're insane, she said. Leon smiled faintly. Maybe, but insanity built empires. He walked back to his tent, clutching the vial. Nadia looked at me. We leave tomorrow, Daniel. With or without him. I nodded, but I couldn't sleep again. I kept hearing the river whispering. Not in words, but in rhythm. Like it was calling my name. By dawn, Leon was gone. His tent was empty, map missing. Only his boots remained, placed neatly by the riverbank. The vial was shattered. Golden water seeping into the soil. Nadia screamed. I didn't. I just stared at the broken glass, realizing the mud was moving. It rippled in slow, circular waves. Something beneath the ground was. Awake. Pack up, I said. We're leaving. Now. We hiked in silence. The forest seemed different, brighter, almost watching us. The insects were gone. Even the wind refused to move. After 2 hours, we reached a clearing. Nadia stopped suddenly. Daniel, she whispered. I followed her gaze. There was a tree at the center, taller than the rest. Its trunk split open. Inside, something glittered. Gold veins ran through the bark like blood. It's everywhere, I muttered. Nadia lifted her camera. Don't film it, I said quickly. Why not? Because it's watching us back. She frowned, but lowered the camera. The golden veins pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. Let's move, I said. But the forest disagreed. Roots shifted under our feet. The ground trembled softly. A sound rose from the earth. A deep, vibrating moan. Run, I shouted. We bolted through the brush, stumbling over roots and stones. Behind us, the sound grew louder, like the mountain itself was. Waking up, Nadia tripped. I grabbed her arm, pulling her up. Keep going. We burst through another patch of vines and froze. Ahead of us was an entrance, a tunnel carved into the rock. Japanese markings faded along its walls. The tunnels, I breathed. Nadia stared into the darkness. Do we go in? The forest behind us growled, literally growled. Something massive was moving between the trees. Yes, I said. We go in. We plunged into the tunnel, light fading behind us. The air turned cold and metallic. I heard Nadia's breath shaking beside me. Daniel, she whispered. There's gold on the walls. I looked closer. She was right. The stone glittered faintly, as if veins of gold ran through it. I touched one. It was warm. We're inside the mountain, I said quietly. Inside its blood. Something dripped from the ceiling, thick, yellow, shimmering. It landed on my hand. I jerked back, gasping. It burned like acid. It's alive, Nadia whispered. It's watching. Us. We kept walking deeper and deeper. My flashlight flickered. The air grew heavy, as if underwater. Then, faintly ahead, we saw light. A golden glow, pulsing from a chamber. We stepped inside and froze. The cavern was enormous. Gold covered everything. The walls, the ceiling, even the bones of dead men. Helmets, rifles, and skeletons fused into one glittering mass. Nadia raised her hand to her mouth. "They found it," she said. "The Japanese found it." I nodded slowly, and it found them. A low rumble rolled through the ground. The gold on the walls began to move, sliding like liquid. Faces emerged, dozens of them. Human faces made of molten gold, screaming silently. "Run!" I yelled. Nadia grabbed my arm, but her eyes were wide with horror. The gold was crawling up her legs. "Daniel, help me." I pulled, but it was too strong. It wrapped around her waist, her chest, her throat. She reached out one last time. "Don't let it." Then she was gone, swallowed whole. The gold hardened instantly, her form frozen in perfect detail. I fell to my knees, trembling. No. The chamber trembled again. The gold veins pulsed faster. I stumbled backward toward the tunnel. "I'm sorry," I whispered, though I didn't know to whom. The faces on the wall turned toward me. They opened their mouths in unison and whispered my name. "Daniel." My light died. The air turned heavy as molten metal. I ran, blind, scraping against the rock walls. The tunnel shook. Something followed. I burst into daylight, falling into the river. The current dragged me away, roaring like thunder. I didn't look back. The jungle swallowed the sound, and the mountain kept breathing. Chapter 2. The Golden Shadows. When I opened my eyes, the jungle had changed. The sunlight was too bright, almost white, slicing through the mist like broken glass. My clothes were stiff with dried mud, my hands trembling as if I had been buried, and clawed my way out. The sound of the river was gone, only silence, thick and endless. I sat up slowly, pain crawling down my spine. The trees around me leaned inward, their trunks blackened as though burned from within. Nadia's voice echoed faintly in my head, her last words twisting into static. I reached for my backpack. It was still there, but the recorder inside was shattered. Something glittered in the mud beside me. A golden flake, thin as a petal, glowing faintly. It pulsed once, then melted back into the soil. I felt the heat of it against my fingers even after it disappeared. For a moment, I wondered if I had imagined everything. Then I saw the footprints. Human footprints. Yang's boots. Nadia's smaller steps. And Mateo's deep ones. All leading away from the riverbank. But their edges shimmered faintly, coated in dust that wasn't dust at all. Gold dust. It trailed deeper into the jungle. Every instinct told me to run the other way. But my mind whispered something else. You can't leave without proof. I picked up the camera Nadia had dropped near the rocks. Its lens was cracked, but the red recording light was still blinking. I pressed play. The screen flickered. Static. Then Nadia's voice came through, breathing fast, frightened. "Daniel, it's everywhere. The gold, it's growing." Her face flashed for a second, distorted, filmed in near darkness. Behind her, something golden moved like liquid fire. Then the screen went black. The recording ended with a faint whisper. "Don't look at it." The chill slid down my spine. I turned off the camera and looked up at the forest. The air shimmered faintly, like a mirage. I could smell metal again, sharp, sweet, poisonous. And somewhere, just beyond the trees, something hummed softly. I started walking. The jungle floor was wet, but there were no insects anymore. Only the sound of my footsteps and the faint rhythm of that humming, steady, alive. The farther I walked, the stronger it grew. It was coming from beneath the ground. I reached a clearing marked by. An old Japanese helmet, half buried in moss. Carved into the rock beside it were characters I didn't understand, but the symbols were filled with gold. The same molten pattern I'd seen in them. Tunnels. I touched one, and it pulsed beneath my skin like a heartbeat. I jerked my hand back, gasping. The gold had burned a small circle into my palm, and for a moment, I could hear it. Not with my ears, but deep inside my skull. A voice, whispering, "Come back." Two words, calm, steady, and patient. The voice wasn't human, yet it sounded like me. I stumbled backward, clutching my hand. The trees rustled as if laughing. Then I heard something else, boots, crunching softly in the mud behind me. I turned around. Liang stood there, alive, or something that looked like him. His face was pale, his skin streaked with golden veins that pulsed under the surface. His eyes glowed faintly, not with light, but with reflection, as if something inside him was shining. "Outward. Daniel," he said softly. "You shouldn't have left." I froze. "Liang, what happened to you?" He smiled, a slow, unnatural stretch of skin and teeth. "The mountain chose me." His voice echoed, strangely, doubled by another tone beneath it. "You saw what it did," I said, backing away. "It killed Mateo, Nadia." "They're not dead," he interrupted. "They're part of it now. Part of the bloodline." I shook my head. "You're insane." "No," he whispered. "I'm reborn." He stepped closer, and the ground shimmered under his feet. With every move he made, the plants around him turned faintly gold. Leaves stiffened, bark cracked, and the air filled with metallic dust. "You can join us," he said. "It's what you came for." I raised my machete, my hands trembling. "Stay back." He tilted his head, unbothered. "You think you can cut gold, Daniel?" Then his smile widened, and he lunged. I swung, the blade slicing through his arm. It hit with a sound like metal striking. Stone. No blood came out, only molten gold, dripping thick and slow. He didn't scream. He laughed. "Pain is temporary," he said. "Transformation is eternal." The gold on his wound spread quickly, sealing it shut, crawling up his neck. He reached out to grab me. I dodged, stumbling backward into the mud. The ground beneath me cracked. Suddenly, I was falling. The earth gave way, swallowing me into darkness. I tumbled down a slope, crashing through roots and rocks. Finally, I hit the ground hard enough to knock the breath from my lungs. The light above vanished. Silence again, then a soft dripping sound. I flicked on my flashlight. The beam caught walls, smooth, carved stone covered in markings. Japanese script, worn and smeared with gold. I was in another tunnel. Deeper this time. Older. The air was thick with heat and decay. When I shined the light ahead, I saw skeletons piled along the wall. Hundreds of them. Some were still, clutching rifles. Others had gold fused into their bones. Faces half melted, eyes forever wide in terror. I swallowed hard, forcing myself to move. At the end of the tunnel, the walls began to glow. Faintly. Gold veins again, but different this time. They moved in patterns, flowing like veins under skin. When I touched one, I could feel the rhythm. Slow, steady, alive. It wasn't metal. It was flesh. The hum returned, louder now. It filled my chest like a second heartbeat. The air shimmered, and the floor began to move beneath my feet. The walls pulsed, closing slightly inward. The mountain was breathing again. I stumbled forward, desperate for an exit. That's when I saw it. An underground shrine, carved into the rock. At its center stood a stone altar, covered in melted helmets, bones, and golden symbols. And on top of it lay a human shape, perfectly preserved in gold. It was Nadia. Her body was flawless, sculpted by something unnatural, her expression frozen. Mid-screen, her eyes, two perfect spheres of gold, stared at me without life. I felt the air leave my lungs. "I am sorry," he whispered. Something behind me moved. The sound was slow, deliberate. Scraping. I turned. Yang stood at the entrance of the chamber. But he wasn't alone. Shapes followed him. Half-human, half-metallic silhouettes crawling from the tunnel walls. Their bodies shimmered. With gold, faces blank but somehow aware. "The mountain needs voices," Liang said calmly. "It feeds on greed. It remembers every man who took what wasn't his." He raised his glowing hand. "You came here for gold, Daniel." His voice deepened, layered with something ancient. "Now, you'll become it." The golden shapes surged forward. I turned and ran for the other end of the chamber. A narrow passage opened near the altar. I dove inside, scraping my arms on sharp rock. The walls trembled behind me, and molten light spilled into the tunnel. The air was scorching. The sound of whispering followed me, hundreds of voices chanting one word. Daniel. I crawled through the narrow gap until I found an opening above. A shaft of daylight shone down through cracks. In the stone, I climbed, slipping on wet rock, my hands bleeding, my muscles burning. Just as I reached the surface, a golden hand grabbed my ankle. Liang's voice echoed from below. "You can't escape it." I kicked hard, screaming. The grip loosened. I pulled myself up and collapsed in the sunlight. The world above was quiet again. The jungle looked normal, green, bright, alive. Birds sang. The wind moved through leaves gently, as if nothing had ever happened. But when I looked down at my hands, I froze. The cut on my palm had turned gold. It wasn't spreading yet, but it pulsed softly like a living scar. I wrapped it in cloth, shaking. Somewhere behind me, the mountain loomed, silent, patient, gleaming faintly in the morning sun. I could still hear the hum, deep beneath the earth. It was slower now, but it hadn't stopped. As I stumbled through the jungle, I whispered to myself, "You're alive. Just keep walking." But the voice in my head laughed softly. "You're not leaving," it said. "You're just changing." I looked back one last time. The mist curled around the trees, glowing faintly gold. The jungle was breathing again. And deep inside, I knew the mountain was still waiting, watching me, calling me back. The curse wasn't done. Not yet. Chapter 3, Whispers in Mountain. The jungle no longer felt alive. It felt haunted. Every rustle, every whisper of leaves carried something watching, listening. My breath was shallow as I pushed. Through the undergrowth, the sun was setting, but the light felt wrong, too red, as if filtered through blood. My hand throbbed beneath the cloth, the gold beneath my skin glowing faintly with every heartbeat. I wanted to believe I'd escaped, but the mountain wasn't just a place, it was inside me now. Each time I blinked, I saw flashes of molten light behind my eyelids. Each time I breathed, I could taste metal, and somewhere far away, I could still hear Liang's voice, humming like a ghost. By nightfall, I found shelter beneath a fallen tree. I built a small fire, though the smoke fell. Heavy, unnatural. My stomach growled, but the food in my pack tasted like ash. I couldn't shake the feeling that the jungle itself was exhaling around me. Every gust of wind felt deliberate, aimed. I unwrapped my palm to look. The wound had spread into lines, veins of gold tracing under my skin. When I touched it, it pulsed like something alive beneath the surface. For a moment, I thought I heard it whisper. Not words, just rhythm, like the mountain's heartbeat. I pressed my hand into the dirt, desperate to feel something real. The ground trembled softly. A whisper slid. Through the night air, my name. I froze. It came again, clearer this time, from somewhere behind me. "Daniel." The voice was low, broken, almost human. I turned slowly, flashlight trembling in my grip. A figure stood just beyond the edge of the firelight. At first, I thought it was Liang again, but this one moved wrong, jerky, twitching, as if its joints were rusted. The light caught its face, half flesh, half gold, the eyes empty sockets filled with liquid metal. It took a step forward, and the ground hissed beneath its feet. My heart slammed against my ribs. "Stay back," I shouted. It tilted its head, as if confused. Then, in a voice that cracked like glass, it spoke. "You left us." The voice wasn't just one. It was many, layered atop one another. "I tried to save you." I yelled. "You ran," it said. "You ran, and the mountain chose you instead." The figure lifted its hand. Its palm was split open, glowing from within. Molten gold dripped from its fingertips. Before I could move, it lunged forward. I swung the machete, slicing through its chest. It didn't bleed, it shattered. Gold fragments scattered across the ground like shattered glass, each one humming faintly. Then they melted back into the soil, vanishing. The jungle went silent again. The only sound was my own ragged breathing. I dropped to my knees, clutching my chest. The gold in my hand pulsed faster, syncing with my heartbeat. Then a voice whispered directly in my head. "You can't kill what is already yours." I screamed, slamming my fist into the ground. When I looked up, the forest had changed again. The trees had turned black and gold, their roots glimmering beneath the soil. The sky was no longer dark, it shimmered like metal dust. And deep within that shimmering, something vast was moving. I stumbled forward, desperate to find any sign of life. After hours of wandering, I saw a light in the distance, a flickering orange glow. A campfire. Human. Real. For the first time in days, hope sparked inside me. I ran toward it, bursting into the clearing. For men turned their rifles toward me instantly. "Don't shoot," I shouted. "I'm human." Their faces were sharp, tense, hardened by the wild. One of them lowered his weapon slightly. "Name," he barked. "Daniel Hart," I gasped. Was part of an expedition." They exchanged glances. One of them, a tall man with a machete at his belt, stepped forward. "Expedition? We found your campsite 3 days ago. No one was there." "There was," I said. "Leon, Nadia, Mateo." He shook his head. "We found their tents. Empty." The words twisted my stomach. He gestured to the fire. "See, you look half dead." I sank to the ground, trembling. They introduced themselves as loggers, locals from a nearby village, searching for lost men rumored to be foreigners. But their eyes said otherwise. One of them, the youngest, stared at my bandaged hand. "What happened there?" "Cut," I lied. He reached out too fast. Before I could stop him, he grabbed my wrist and pulled the cloth away. The gold glowed faintly beneath the firelight. They all froze. The tall man's expression hardened. "Where did you get that?" he asked. "It's not what you think," I said quickly. "It's a wound, something from the river." "From the mountain," he interrupted. The others crossed themselves in silence. Their leader leaned closer. "You've been marked." "Marked?" I asked. He nodded slowly. "It calls the ones it wants back." I laughed weakly. "You don't understand. It's alive down there. Gold that moves, breathes, kills." He didn't flinch. "We understand. We've buried men who touched it." The fire crackled softly between us. "Then help me destroy it," I said. He looked at me for a long time, then shook his head. "You can't destroy what's older than men. You can only stay away." "But it's spreading," I whispered. "I can feel it. Lumen Sight. Then your only hope is the temple." "What temple?" He nodded toward the jungle part. "The place where it began. The old miners called it the throat of it." "Mountain." The others made signs with their hands, whispering prayers. He stood. "We'll take you at dawn. But if you turn, we leave you there." I nodded numb. As they slept, I sat awake, staring into the flames. The firelight shimmered on my golden veins. I could hear them humming softly, alive, aware. When dawn came, we moved. The air grew heavy again, the jungle darker. The path wound between ancient trees whose roots glowed faintly beneath the ground. We followed the sound, the same low hum I'd heard in my dreams. It was stronger now, constant, alive. After hours of walking, we reached it. A cliffside split opened into a massive stone mouth. Gold veins ran through the rock like lightning. The air around it shimmered with heat, though the forest was cool. The leader stopped, crossing himself. "The throat of the mountain," he said quietly. "None who enter return." I stepped forward, feeling the pulse in my palm respond to the sound. "It's calling me," I whispered. He grabbed my arm. "That's what it wants." I met his eyes. "Maybe, but if I don't go in, it will never stop." He hesitated, then released me. "Then may God have mercy on you." I turned toward the darkness and stepped inside. The heat swallowed me whole. Inside, the walls glowed faintly, alive with molten veins. The hum became deafening, a song without melody vibrating through bone. Every step I took, the gold in my hand pulsed brighter, guiding me deeper. Whispers filled the tunnel, hundreds of them, layered, echoing one word: "Welcome." The floor trembled beneath me. From the shadows ahead, light began to bloom, pure gold, radiating like a heartbeat. I followed it, knowing there was no turning back. As I entered the chamber, I realized it wasn't a temple at all. It was a womb, and the mountain was alive. Chapter 4. The Heart Beneath the Stone. The heat inside the mountain was unbearable. It pressed against my skin, seeped into my lungs, and crawled beneath my flesh where the gold already lived. The air shimmered like liquid fire, and every breath felt like inhaling molten dust. The tunnel narrowed as I went deeper, the walls closing in, pulsing faintly with golden veins. It was like walking through the arteries of something alive. I stopped to catch my breath, pressing my hand against the stone. It was warm and beating, slow, steady, like a sleeping giant's heart. The hum I'd been hearing since the river grew louder now, rising and falling in rhythm with my pulse. Each throb sent waves of light through the stone around me, and beneath it, I heard whispers, thousands of them. I turned off my flashlight. The walls still glowed faintly, bathing everything in soft, golden light. Shapes began to appear in the rock. Faces, hands, eyes, frozen mid-scream. I stepped closer, trembling. They weren't carved. They were absorbed. Bodies fused into the walls, their flesh turned to gold. Japanese soldiers, loggers, explorers, each one perfectly preserved, their eyes glimmering faintly as if aware of me. A voice rose above the others, clear and calm. "You've come home." I froze. The voice wasn't around me. It was inside me. I stumbled backward, clutching my head. "Who are you?" I shouted. The voice replied, gentle as a lullaby. "I am what you've been searching for." My hand burned under the cloth. When I looked, the gold had spread past my wrist, veins of light crawling toward my elbow. I tore at the bandage, but it only made the metal gleam brighter. It pulsed once, and the world around me changed. The tunnel melted away. I was standing in a vast golden chamber, its ceiling lost in a haze of light. Pools of molten metal bubbled around me, reflecting faces that were not mine. At the center stood an enormous heart, half stone, half gold, suspended by roots that pulsed like veins. It was the source of the hum. The voice spoke again, echoing from every direction. "Do you understand now? The gold is not dead. It is memory. It is life preserved." I shook my head. "You kill everything you touch." "I preserve them," the voice said. "Flesh rots. Gold remembers." I took a step forward, staring at the colossal heart. "What are you?" "I'm the pulse beneath the world. When men tore the mountains for their greed, I awoke to remind them what endures." I felt the ground shift beneath me. The pools of gold began to ripple, faces surfacing and sinking. Liang emerged from one of them. His body was completely gold now, but his eyes were still human. He smiled faintly. "I told you, Daniel. It doesn't destroy. It transforms." "Into what?" I shouted. "Slaves." "Into truth," he said. "Into eternity." The heart beat faster. The walls around us shimmered, and molten light ran down like Zen. I felt it crawling under my skin, reaching for my mind. I staggered, gripping my head. The voice whispered again. "Stop fighting. You've already joined." "No, Iga spot. I can still end this." Liang's golden face tilted slightly. "End? You think life ends here?" He gestured to the heart. "Touch it. See what we've become." Behind him, golden hands began to rise from the pools, reaching for me. I stumbled back, slipping on a hot stone. My machete clattered to the ground, its blade catching the golden light. I grabbed it and swung at the nearest hand. It shattered like glass, but more replaced it instantly. I turned toward the heart. If this thing was alive, maybe it could die. I ran. The heat was blinding now, my skin blistering, my lungs filling with smoke. I could feel the gold on my arm crawling toward my neck. Every step I took, the whispers grew louder, pleading, screaming, praying. The ground cracked beneath my boots. I reached the heart and raised the machete high. The voice roared inside my skull, shaking the chamber. "Fool! You strike yourself." I swung anyway. The blade sank into the glowing mass with a sound like thunder. Light exploded around me, white gold, red. The ground heaved, throwing me backward into the molten pool. I felt the world collapse. The voices screamed all at once, then fell silent. The hum stopped. I thought I was dead, but then I opened my eyes. I was lying on the cold ground outside. The jungle stretched before me, untouched, quiet, almost peaceful. Birds were singing. Again, I sat up slowly. My hand, the gold was gone. No vines. Only a scar, dark and deep, across my palm. For the first time in days, I felt human again. But something was wrong. The sun above me shimmered faintly. The trees glistened with a golden tint under the morning light. And the air, it still hummed, faintly, like the mountain breathing in its sleep. I turned toward the cliffs. The entrance to the mountain was gone, completely sealed, covered in new rock and soil. It was as if it had never existed. I laughed, half in relief, half in madness. "It's over," I whispered, but deep inside I knew it wasn't. The gold had vanished from my flesh, yes, but not from my blood. I could feel it there, like heat beneath the skin. Waiting, I stumbled through the jungle until I reached the river again. The water was calm now, clear as glass. I knelt to drink, desperate to wash away the nightmare. But as I leaned closer, I saw my reflection, and I stopped, breathing. My eyes were gold, not bright, not glowing, but unmistakably gold. I touched my face, trembling. The voice whispered again, gentle, almost loving. "You see, you never left." I screamed and threw a rock into the water. The reflection shattered, rippling outward. But when it calmed again, I saw more faces beneath the surface. Nadia, Meteor, Young, all smiling, all golden. The river shimmered, and the hum grew louder again. I stumbled backward, my heart racing. The earth trembled beneath my feet, a low vibration rising from below. Birds scattered from the trees. The ground cracked open near the riverbank, gold light bleeding through. The voice came one last time. "You cannot destroy life, Dan. You only delay it." The ground split wider, molten gold bursting upward like liquid sunlight. I ran, crashing through the jungle, branches tearing at my clothes. Behind me, the light consumed everything, the trees, the rocks, the air. I didn't look back. When I finally stopped, I was standing at the edge of the valley. The mountain was gone. In its place was a lake, calm, vast, shimmering like a mirror of gold. The sun rose. Behind it, turning everything into fire. It was beautiful, terrifyingly beautiful. I felt my knees, breathless. The whisper inside me faded to silence. But the hum remained, steady, eternal, alive. I watched the lake shimmer and realized the truth. The curse hadn't ended. It had only changed its shape. Chapter 5, The Golden Rebirth. I walked for days, or maybe hours. Time didn't mean anything anymore after what I'd seen. The jungle bled into itself. Trees melting into mist, earth breathing beneath. My feet. The only constant was the hum. Always the hum. Sometimes it was faint, like a heartbeat in the distance. Other times it thundered so loud I could feel it shaking inside my skull. I tried to ignore it, but it pulsed with my veins, reminding me that the gold was still there. Alive, waiting, changing me. I reached a dirt road cutting through the forest. A sign leaned crookedly on one post, written in Vietnamese and faded by the rain. Civilization. My legs gave out, and I fell to my knees, laughing. I was still alive. Somehow, an old truck rumbled around the corner, its tires spitting mud. The driver slammed the brakes when he saw me. He jumped out, a thin man with sunburned skin and wary eyes. "You okay?" he asked in accented English. I tried to answer, but only a whisper came out. He helped me into the truck, muttering prayers under his breath. I caught my reflection in the rearview mirror. My eyes were still gold. He noticed too, but he said nothing. We drove for hours, the jungle shrinking behind us. Each mile felt like shedding skin, leaving ghosts in the trees. Eventually, we reached a small riverside town, boats, smoke, children playing barefoot in the mud. The driver took me to a clinic run by two women in white coats. They spoke softly, their faces blurred by exhaustion and worry. They cleaned my wounds, gave me water, and called the authorities. When a man in uniform arrived, I told him everything. About the expedition, the river, the tunnels, the moving gold, the mountain that breathed. He smiled politely, wrote something down, and told me to rest. But I saw the look in his eyes. He didn't believe a word. They kept me there for 3 days. Doctors examined my blood. They said it was unusual, dense, with traces of metal they couldn't identify. They took more samples, whispering to each other in the hallway. I pretended to sleep, but I heard every word. Conductivity levels are unnatural. Could it be contamination or mutation? Their voices lowered to a hush. Then one said the word that made my heart freeze. Gold. That night I escaped. I couldn't let them see what I was becoming. The gold wasn't spreading on my skin anymore, but was in my dreams, my breath, my thoughts. Every time I blinked, I saw golden rivers beneath the earth, branching out like veins across the world. The curse wasn't ending. It was expanding. I made it to the coast a week later. Boats lined the harbor, nets hanging like ghosts between masts. I paid a fisherman to take me south, saying I was a lost surveyor. He didn't ask questions. People rarely do when you pay in gold. We sailed at dawn. The sea was calm, silver under the morning. Light. For the first time in weeks, I felt peace. Until I noticed the fisherman staring at my hands. I followed his gaze and froze. Tiny specks of gold dust shimmered beneath my fingernails. The sunlight made them glow like embers. He said nothing, but I saw the fear in his eyes. That night, he anchored the boat offshore and refused to sleep near me. I couldn't blame him. The next morning, I woke to silence. The fisherman was gone. Only his hat floated near the edge of the boat. No splash, no struggle, nothing. Just gone. The water around the boat shimmered. Faintly, beneath the surface, I saw movement, golden threads drifting upward, curling like smoke. I stumbled back, clutching my chest. The hum filled the air again, stronger now. It was coming from below the sea. I grabbed the engine cord and pulled. The boat lurched forward, cutting through waves. But the water began to glow beneath me, spreading outward like veins of light. It was beautiful and horrifying at once. The mountain's blood had found the ocean. By the time I reached land, the horizon behind me shimmered gold. Villagers stood on the beach, pointing, whispering prayers. They thought it was sunrise. I knew better. It was rebirth. I kept moving, always inland, always running. But no matter where I went, I could hear it. In the rain hitting rooftops, in the rumble of trains, in the rhythm of my heart. Once, in a crowded market, I caught sight of a little boy holding a coin. He rubbed it between his fingers, fascinated by its shimmer. When the light hit it just right, it pulsed faintly alive. I froze, the world around me fading. The curse had already spread. The gold had left the jungle, the tunnels, the heart of the mountain. Now it was in pockets, vaults, jewelry, coins, veins, everywhere, in everyone, and it was waiting. I found a quiet place near the river that night. The same kind of river I'd first followed into. The mountain. The air smelled of wet earth and metal. I sat on the bank, staring at my reflection again. The gold in my eyes flickered like candlelight. Are you happy now? I whispered. The water rippled, though there was no wind. The voice returned, softer than ever. You brought me back to the world, Daniel. I clenched my fists. What do you want? Nothing, it said. I already have everything. The river shimmered, and for the first time, I didn't feel afraid. The hum inside me matched the sound of the flowing water. We were one rhythm, one pulse. I stood, feeling the world move under my feet. In the distance, the horizon glowed faintly gold again. Cities, rivers, mountains, all breathing the same slow pulse. Humanity had mined the earth for centuries. Now the earth was finally mining us. I smiled, a broken, hollow smile. The curse wasn't a punishment. It was an evolution. We thought we were taking gold from the mountain. But the mountain had only been waiting to take us. The night sky shimmered faintly, stars reflecting off rivers of light below. Somewhere, far away, I could hear the sea humming again. The sound was beautiful, eternal, terrifying. And as I walked into the darkness, I whispered the truth aloud. The gold was never cursed. It was alive. And now, so was I.